Hello and welcome back to the Gavel Gab podcast. It is another episode of the Reddit Review with your favorite paralegal and lawyer. So I have Andrea with me again today, and we're going to just dive right in. Who's going first, me or you?
I'll go first.
All right.
I have a paralegal story, so it feels fitting. Paralegal here. There's so many crazy divorces, and divorces will bring out the absolute worst in couples. When thinking of reasons a divorce started, this one stands out to me the most. At my last firm, we did general law, which included probate. A couple did their will with our firm. We drafted everything. They were mid-70s to early 80s, married 40 years total. Divorced and remarried once, and husband wanted us to put in his will that his kids get his entire estate, but did not want us to tell his wife. He wanted to have us make a secret will and a fake will. The fake will would be signed with her present, her being the wife. And then he wanted us to shred it, and he'll come back in later to sign the real will. He copied his wife on the email to us that had all of this information disclosed in it. 2 weeks later, he called us and said he wanted to file for divorce instead.
I didn't know where this was going. I was like, fake will, real will. I want to know this poster. Were they actually going to do it?
I know.
But yeah, the dreaded CC. You can't CC the wrong person. It has some dire consequences, which looks like divorce in this case.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Have you ever heard of anything like this?
No, and I feel like there's some ethical gray area with the attorney being willing to do that. I'm sure they didn't, but obviously, since it all blew up in his face, but...
Yeah, I'm hoping that the first they heard of this weird plan was the CC'd email where he copied his wife in it, that, you know, he was going to have a fake will and a real will, and they were like, yeah, no, dude, that's not how it works. That's an interesting one to lead to divorce. Most of the time, you know, it's differences, and then there's the cheating and infidelity, but the trying to cut your wife out of your will and do a fake will, that's a new one.
That is, yeah.
I've not heard before. All right. Mine is when the mother gets involved. So this is an attorney story that was shared, and it says, I've had a lot of younger male potential clients come for divorce consults with their mother.
Mm-hmm.
I can say, as a family and divorce lawyer, I have also seen this. I wouldn't say a lot. This one says, I've had a lot. I've had a few. They're always very interesting. Okay. Then, during the consult, the mother does 98% of the talking, and it's clear who actually wants the divorce. I will say I've seen this a lot more in my experience with custody. The mother comes in, so grandmother to the child, and it's very clear that grandma wants dad to have custody, because dad just sits there like he's never done anything for himself in his life, which is probably true, and that's why mom is there. So
that's a good point.
This attorney is saying, I usually escort mom to wait in the lobby while I talk to the son directly, and most of the time he's just there to appease his mother. On a related note, I once had just the mother call for a consult because she said explicitly she wanted her son to get a divorce. I politely informed her that's not how divorces work. So parents getting involved I want to say I've had some cases where it's been a good thing. And I've had, unfortunately, more often than not, cases where it's extremely difficult for a variety of reasons. One, when the parent is paying. So just because you're paying for the lawsuit does not make you the client. And I tell people that till I'm blue in the face. I let them know. I will sometimes, and that's the next thing, is communication. We have confidentiality restrictions with our clients. And so you can kind of do a waiver in a sense that I am allowed to discuss certain things like the bill with someone that's not the client. But that gets into a lot of gray area that I just don't want to live in.
Right.
What have you seen on the parent side getting involved in cases?
I have seen the mother get involved, especially with the adult men. I don't know why that happens so often, but it does. And every time in my experience, it's been a problem. They seem to make everything worse, and I have not seen it go in a good way. But I'm glad you have. I think that if you're old enough to get married and divorced, you should be able to do it alone.
Yeah.
It's great to have support, but at every meeting, having that person there, not just as support, but as, here's my opinion and you better follow it. That is where it gets to be a problem. And that's how we see it a lot, is where there's some overreaching happening.
Yeah.
That's impeding the process rather than moving it along.
I've even had, and it's funny because I've had where I included the parent because every time I met with client son, we'd come up with a plan and a strategy and we'd be on the same page and it would be great. And then I'd get a call a few days later after they talked to parent, or I'd get an email where they're asking me 500 clarifying questions and basically having me rehash my entire conversation over email because parent needs the explanation for the strategy. And so I've actually had a few times where I just was like, it is easier for you to just come to the meeting. If you are going to change your mind, and the frustrating part is when they start telling me they want to do something completely different from our strategy and all the reasons why, which are counterintuitive to everything I've explained. And it's very clear this is coming from a parent who's not a lawyer that doesn't know what's going on.
That's right.
And so sometimes I've looped parents in because it actually made it harder to not loop them in. So it's interesting, the different dynamics. Some people also won't listen to their parents. So it just really depends. I will say, when I mentioned that it's gone well for me sometimes, I'm realizing that was false. It went well for about 6 months until it didn't. And actually what was interesting is mom and dad were both involved.
Oh,
but
that's
not
the worst.
Simultaneously. It was predominantly a custody case. There were a lot of other issues going on. Son, father, client. So the client was not reachable for a time. We'll just say that. And so I actually did need to speak with his mother quite often to move the case along. We had good rapport. It went really well until we had the hearing. And funny enough, mother and father both complimented me after the hearing. It was kind of a lose-lose situation. Yeah. And the father actually was like, I've been in court, mostly corporate level. You're one of the best attorneys I've seen. You handled that really well. I mean, so complimentary. And then things took a turn. I think they ended up filing for grandparent custody, so we weren't able to communicate anymore. I don't think they were angry at me by any means, but just the nature of it. And then dad, client, took a turn, turned on me, and was like, this is all your fault. And in his letter saying it was all my fault about how both of his parents thought I was a terrible lawyer and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this sounds like spoiled, rotten little boy finally is not being helped out with his parents and he's mad at them too. But I'm like, that's completely contradictory to everything that they said to me. So it's interesting how a good client can turn into a hateful one really quickly. Yeah. And a parent relationship can kind of deteriorate. I actually often wonder if they ended up with the kid and ended up with custody in that case, and I'm not sure. Yeah. But that one was a doozy, and it's funny because when I said, oh yeah, I've had some go well, the first half went well. Part 2 was not ideal, but I think it was more the client than the parents. I actually liked the parents quite a bit.
Yeah, usually it's when the parents are involved after consultation period. I've seen where parents come just, again, in a supportive role to a consultation, and that's fine. Often people bring people to the consultation. You obviously have to advise them about, they're waiving some of their privacy. But, beyond that, it just seems to take a turn for the worst. So it's a red flag when the client asks us to see mom or dad on further correspondence.
Another one that I've seen recently, actually one of our current cases, is children, grown adult children being involved in parents' divorce case. I have actually had, and this is part 1, 2, and 3. It's the whole case. It's happened a few times, and all of those experiences have been really good. And here's why I think they've gone well. Is most of the time the adult child to the parent is around my age, plus or minus 5 to 10 years. And I think our generation understands that we aren't, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not trying to do your job for you. I don't think ChatGPT can teach it to me. But I don't know that my older parent is tech savvy enough and is going to understand, because some, especially, and this has been the case, it's been females that have been predominantly stay-at-home wives and mothers. So they haven't been in the corporate world. They probably don't understand a lot of the jargon. And so they have been really good at assisting, and they rarely get out of their lane and start commandeering emails or calling the office. What usually happens, I just had a call last week, and answer client said, my 2 children are here. They were on the consult, and I knew they were there because I could see them in that one. And, they, I think, help explain so that I don't have to explain 10 times what's going on, and help them remember. So I've had that be a really good experience. It's new girlfriends and new boyfriends that are always a train wreck.
Always.
Always a train
Never
wreck.
a good story. But I have had really good experiences as well with the child being involved, the adult children.
Yeah.
Especially with like older men. And not even just family law, but in other practice areas. Yes, having them bridge that technology gap is hugely helpful. But yeah, I haven't seen them overstepping either. I'm sure it's happened to others out there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I actually, the client I'm thinking of, her son, I think, is really close to my age, also in a professional field, not law.
Yeah.
And at the end of the consult, it was like 45 seconds. He's not trying to take up the airtime. He's letting mom talk and tell her story. But he said to me at the end, he said, I wanted to let you know I've been really impressed. I love my mom. I care about her. And this is a lot of money. And just wanted to make sure that someone was going to be compassionate with her, but also knowledgeable. And that's why we're here, and we trust you, and that's why we're moving forward with you. And that's kind of been the attitude these adult children have had when they've been involved in cases. So not all case involvement from other family members is bad, but I will tell you, every time the new boyfriend and girlfriend is always bad news.
Always bad news.
Yes.
Okay, I've got another one.
All right.
This one is captioned Precious Plants. My aunt was dating an unemployed dude for a while. He was staying in her house rent-free. Eventually they got married and were getting ready to go on the honeymoon when the new husband tells her he's not going because he has to take care of his precious plants at the house. A big fight ensues, and my aunt goes on the honeymoon with her sister instead. She comes home to her house and tries to kick new husband out, but he refuses to leave. She tries to get the police involved, but they tell my aunt that there's basically nothing they can do. She can file for eviction after a divorce. This dude just gets to live in her house with his precious plants until everything is legally worked out.
I mean, this unemployed dude is kind of genius.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Because this is exactly how that would go.
It would. It's terrible. It's so true. And it makes you wonder, did he know this? Did he know what he was doing?
I think he
from the start.
What he was doing.
Yeah. He was playing the long game.
That is wild. But to not go, I'd go on the honeymoon.
I know.
Free rent, free honeymoon, free trip.
Right.
What? So he's doing it wrong. If you're going to do it, you got to go on the trip. Get someone to water your plants for you. Yeah. But yeah, this is so unfortunate because this is literally, and not to make light of it, but it just makes me think of real life scenarios. Like you call the police and you're like, I need you to come get my husband out of the house. They're like, domestic violence?
Right.
No. Plant. Like, what? He's doing legally nothing
wrong.
He's allowed to be there with his plant. He's not causing problems. And North Carolina has a lawsuit called divorce from bed and board. And typically it means that one spouse has made the other spouse's life intolerable. And, the plants aren't going to
That's not going to do it. Nope. That's not going to do it. But I just thought that was...
There are very few options. And
quite
poor woman in North Carolina, they have to be separated for a year. And if he won't leave the house, she has to leave the house to make the year separation before she can divorce him. If this was a consult that came in my door, I would not want to take this case.
Mm-hmm.
This would just, not because any other reason that I would feel so bad for this woman, and I can't really make it better.
No, yeah, she just has to get an apartment until they've been separated for long enough, or they come to some other agreement, because she's not getting him out of the house, and it doesn't seem like she's going to convince him to move. So, it is a terrible scenario.
He might be unemployed, but he's working. He is working the system.
He's working the system.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so it's titled Just a Family Law Attorney Venting. And I'm curious if this is going to sound just like me. Okay. I'm tired of my family law cases where half of the time I'm a therapist and the other half of the time I'm getting yelled at for not delivering on completely unreasonable expectations. Oh my God, it does sound
just like, yeah.
I feel like family court just naturally attracts lunatics. Some people have a legit reason to be there, but these custody and support battles, sheesh. I have so many insane clients and I have to talk sense into them. I get so much pushback, and it's so frustrating. This could be a recording of me.
It's completely relatable. I mean, perhaps. But
I'm usually a little bit nicer. So I will say, this says I have so many insane clients, and I have to talk sense into them. I do have to talk sense into my clients, but I don't refer to my clients as insane. It's everyone else. It's the other lawyers, and it's the other opposing parties.
Yeah, but lunatics is a great word to describe some of the people that we do encounter day to day on the other side, at least. I think our clients, especially right now, are pretty great, but, every once in a while you'll have a bad apple.
The things I'm just thinking about showing up to court in. I remember this woman a few weeks ago, she had a t-shirt on, and it said IDK, IDC, IDGAF.
Yep.
And I'm thinking... That's what you came to fight for custody of your child today, and that's what you woke up and said, I'm gonna put my best foot forward with this.
Speaking of that, I also saw her, and I'm pretty sure that her feet were in flip-flops. So that just makes it even worse. Yeah, presentation and how you present yourself, especially when you're going to a court proceeding, whether you're representing yourself, whether you're the attorney, whatever situation you're in, you should, treat that courtroom with respect. And it is crazy that these people don't even think about that.
No.
I know you own something better than that t-shirt.
And I will say I've been relatively lucky because when I first started my career, I was under the impression that you've hired a lawyer. You've hired me to represent you. And lawyers ain't cheap, okay? So you've hired me. I would think you'd have the common sense to know at least the bare minimum to wear to court. I've never had anybody wear something absolutely off the wall that I wanted to bang my head against the wall, but I have had a few, I really wish you hadn't done that. And so I do try to mention to clients what the bare minimum for court is so that doesn't happen, because how embarrassing to hire a lawyer and then you show up in your PJs.
Well,
it's why did you put the effort into this? Because it's crazy. I will say, this was when I was working at the pro bono clinic at the law school, so this was not a paying client, but we had a very close encounter where the client reeked of marijuana.
Oh dear.
And we were pretty sure the case was going to be continued, and had to have a quick little combo that you will be, if we are going forward to, it was so bad, I literally thought the judge was going to be able to smell it from the judge's stand. You will be leaving and going to buy new clothes or have someone meet you here with brand new clothes. He looked actually really nice. He was wearing a very nice suit, but reeked of marijuana. And I'm like, not what we're going for today in this hearing, sir. So that was a crazy one that I added to the list of didn't know I needed to tell people not to wear pajamas or to not show up smelling like a current illegal substance in this state. Yeah.
I actually have had so many bad scenarios where clients dressed inappropriately for court that I created or we implemented sending the client a what to wear to court guide. And that was sent to them with notice of the hearing every time. That was part of my duties, and it stopped the issue.
We need to talk about that.
We should implement that. I just thought about it, and I think it's a great tool, and I still, have that, and we could...
Because I've been lucky enough that it hasn't been a problem, but it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Oh, we can add it to the onboarding guide.
Add it to the onboarding guide.
Love it.
All right, we've got another one for you guys. This is the last one, and it is another paralegal story. Paralegal here. A couple got divorced over a cat. Wife called the cat Snowball because of white fur and only wanted the cat to eat wet food or chicken breast. Husband called the cat Lily, again because of the white fur, and believed it should only eat dry food. These two argued for a year over custody of the cat, but did not give a crap about their human kids aged 15 months, 4 years old, and 6 years old.
What?
I know. And they say fighting over custody, but obviously in most states, the cat is going to be a piece of property that they're fighting over. But I find this to be so insane.
Well, they're all insane. Last Reddit
These
review,
are the lunatics.
Yes, these are the lunatics. We were talking about the litter box story where they
Yes.
fought over this like $8 litter box from Walmart and didn't even have a cat. At least these people have a cat. But, I mean, the two different names, red flag, that's weird.
Red flag. Couldn't agree.
Why
Could not
do
agree
you
on the
have
names.
Such a difference in preference of what this cat eats. Did they not discuss this before they got the cat? What's going on? See, all of the time when I read these, I'm like, I need to know more. I need you to give me way more details than you have provided.
Yeah.
But yes, these are the exact lunatics that we're talking about. It's wild out there. If you can avoid family court, I highly recommend you do that. As much as I'm glad people give me a job to do, we should all avoid family court because it's filled with lunatics that care more about their cat than their 3 kids.
Yes, avoid family court, but if you do find yourself having to attend, get an attorney. Get an attorney and hope that the opposing party does too, because that always makes it better.
It does. It's funny when I have clients that the other side gets represented. They're like, oh no, they've hired an attorney. I'm like, no.
That's
oh
great.
yes, they hired an attorney because now we actually can negotiate.
Mm-hmm.
And we might get to avoid court. But you have a pro se party, you're going to go to court almost every single time because they literally think that you are just lying to them and that you are the devil. And I'm like, no, I'm actually trying to help both of you. I'm trying to help you avoid going with all the lunatics to family court. Judges love to sign consent orders, but they do not like to see all the crazy all over the place on their witness stand, but it happens all the time. But that is all we have on the Reddit reviews today. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep on gabbing.